How challenging is the trade tariffs, supply chain and global growth landscape for Fertiglobe, and does it require you to pivot operationally and function differently from normal?
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on the show. From a tariffs perspective, it's something we monitor every day. But the good thing from a Fertiglobe perspective is that we're not just a production, we're not just a producing company. We don't just produce ammonia and urea in Algeria, Egypt, and the UAE. We're also a major trader. We sell to over 51 countries. And interestingly, the US hasn't been a big destination market for us the last several years because there's been an abundance of product going into the United States, particularly Russian products. So from a pricing perspective, even earlier this year, we've seen very few cargoes even going to the United States from our side, and our traders would look to trade around it with third-party product when we do have dislocations in the market.
Ahmed, I'm sure you agree the demand for clean ammonia is over here in Asia. So can you tell us where you are in terms of securing longer-term offtake agreements with Japan and South Korea?
Sure, absolutely. So we're involved in a few different projects, both in Abu Dhabi as well as in Texas, in partnership with Exxon, a Baytown blue hydrogen, blue ammonia project. Between us and our partners, we've had constructive discussions both in Japan as well as in Korea, but also in the European markets. We don't have something to announce at this, during this quarterly result with regards to the offtakes, but it's something that we continue to work on and try to make the math work. As a supplier that has both the advantage of supplying product from the Middle East as well as from the US Gulf, which is unique to only Fertiglobe.
Ahmed, this is important because once you secure those contracts, then you'll be able to move forward and might make a final investment decision on the blue ammonia project in the UAE. Is there anything that you can share with us and update us with at this stage?
So we have a low-carbon ammonia project in the UAE that's under construction now to start in 2027. That's kind of a lower capex project. It's considered low-carbon from a life cycle CO2 perspective. So that's under construction starting in 2027. We have another project Rabdan, that we announced this morning that we're putting on pause, which is a blue ammonia project. And that's a function of just the level of demand. We see that with our project in Texas, with Exxon that I mentioned earlier, as well as our existing project that's under construction, we've decided to pause this third project where we're kind of concentrating efforts to secure, as you said, those offtakes and move forward with the Texas project.
And Ahmed, are India and China potential buyers of clean ammonia, or is that more of a longer-term prospect that you may be exploring?
They're much more of a longer-term prospect. Obviously, the clean ammonia will come at a premium because of the cost of carbon abatement. Or if you have, for example, green ammonia, which is made from renewable resources. So the Japanese and Korean governments have allocated significant funds in tens of billions of dollars towards buying this higher-priced ammonia. And in the European markets, you have a CO2 price. In India and in China, you don't have that today, not driving that demand, but we do see it longer term. I will say that Fertiglobe, we're the first company outside of Europe to produce green ammonia in 2023, and our main customer is actually an Indian chemicals company that ultimately went into Unilever green detergent. So we have found spots where we can sell, green ammonia and low carbon ammonia into India, but as a national mandate to buy large amounts into the power sector, for example, I think that's for the future.
Ahmed, you acquired the distribution assets of Wengfu, Australia, earlier this year. Have you completed that integration process, and how will this help expand Fertiglobe's reach in this region?
Yeah, so we announced, we signed and announced the investment in May. We're expecting it to complete in late Q3. So we're undergoing kind of the approval process now. We're very excited about the acquisition. Basically what it is a distribution platform that can distribute over 1 million tons of fertilizer into the Eastern Australian market, which has been a major market for us the last 5 years. And to your first question, these are the types of expansions where we have further reach on the trading side, getting closer to the customer, and allows us to work with dislocations. For example, if China is not exporting, or if there's something from a tariff perspective, we can reallocate into these 200 plus customers we have with the Wengfu acquisition. And this is part of our broader strategy where we announced a target EBITDA of over $1 billion by 2030 at 2024 prices, we had 4 pillars. One is operational excellence. Number 2 is customer proximity, where Wengfu is an acquisition in that respect. Number 3 is nitrogen product expansion. And number 4 is low carbon ammonia markets on a disciplined basis. So this is firmly in the second part of our strategy, and we look and continue to evaluate other opportunities that can give us that type of optionality.
Ahmed, global food security was a central issue, wasn't it? When Russia invaded Ukraine, fertilizer supply chains were severely impacted. Do you fear that the world is heading into another food price crisis maybe? And how can fertilizer supply chains be made more efficient and fit for purpose in the future?
Something we always have to monitor, and that's why it's important to not just think about the production of the fertilizer in key markets where we have access to low-cost energy, but also how you distribute that, how you go further downstream, ultimately to the farmer, to the agricultural center, to the buyer. Having resilience in terms of supply chains, whether it's by vessel, by barge, by truck, by rail, is very important. It was tested not only in 2022 when pricing went up a lot, but even in 2020 with the COVID crisis. In 2020, we saw borders being closed. I'm happy to say that in both situations, we were able to flow product freely from Fertiglobe into the key destination markets. As I said, we sell into 51 different markets. But it is very important that we keep those supply chains open, because the fertilizer we produce, nitrogen fertilizer, feeds around 4 out of the world's 8 billion people. It has to be applied every single year, and that's the resilience of the demand that our product, the demand that our product has from the agricultural community. So it's essential that we get those delivered into those key markets. We're one of the major suppliers, for example, into India, one of the largest suppliers into India, short sailing distance away from Abu Dhabi, also into Ethiopia, and also into Europe, European markets.